Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dreamvisions 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And here I am, Deborah Beauvais of the Love by Intuition show. This is a live Dreamvisions 7 radio broadcast here at 1510 AM, NBC Sports Radio Boston, reaching 5 states locally, turning the dial, streaming worldwide on dreamvisions7radio.com. And then it goes on to our station, which is syndicated with a number of others. We have a great show for you today. Actually, I have a co-host with me for 3 sessions, and she is Reverend Dr. Linda Coff. Many of you may be familiar with her. She's a celebrated author of Bridge of the Gods, a handbook for ascending humanity, the golden pathway to your highest God self, and Songs of Eternity, contemplations, treatments, and meditations on the Word of God. Now, The Bridge of the Gods is one of my favorite books, and everyone should have a copy in their home. Today and the next 2 following shows, we will be focusing on the Songs of Eternity. And our topic today is Made in the Image, Be the Joyous Success You Were Always Meant to Be, assessing your divine patterns of wholeness, peace, power, and perfection within. And this is a special, as mentioned, 3-part series. The next one that will be live is October 19th and then November 16th, and it will be all connected. There's also a special bonus. The third caller to register their name today and number will receive their own free copy of this glorious book, Songs of Eternity. On, should I say, to the wonderful Dr. Linda Coff, who has a background in Broadway, film, and TV shows with rave reviews. And she is just someone that is, well, I should mention, too, she is the founder of New Thought International, Inc., an association of global centers for world peace and enlightenment. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Reverend Linda.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. And so now we are going to focus on that first one, divine healing of your emotional life. And you just get right into it.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah. What I want to say and why I chose to talk with listeners about the healing of the emotional life is because it is so powerful for our lives and for what we manifest and for how we live. The quality of our living is all tied in with our emotions. And so this session or this time will address how to convert and heal troublesome emotions. Now, realizing that our emotions and the purity, as God intended them to be, when they're free-flowing in the highest states on the emotional scale, in peace, courage, love, joy, imperturbability, when we are up in the elevated states, we have tremendous power of creation. So the emotions are designed, let's say, by the infinite perfect designer to be the engine, to be our power, our passion, and our capacity to demonstrate and bring forth whatever it is that we want. So as everybody knows, when you're in the lower states, the lowest being And it's like a musical scale. So, what you need to understand is that even the most bottom emotions, the direst states of apathy, grief, despair, those states of feeling that I can't, there's no use, self-pity, deep depression, that these feelings are just simply energy, that with right thought and right knowing, you can go right up the scale from those deepest states of negative energy to the highest state of well-being and have your power on and going in your life. So, you say the point is to discuss, what are the spiritual tools that we have been given to perform this alchemy, this beneficent change for ourselves and therefore to bless our life. And what I'd like to say to listeners is throughout, just keep thinking, start already thinking about where you have the most difficulty, especially chronic patterns that return again and again, and where you individually will know right at this moment what is an area that you would like to heal. And in that certain area, start to think in terms of divine patterns. In other words, if you were being the highest and best you that there is, which is your God self, your higher self, that self that knows, how would you be being, doing, handling, reacting to a situation? And it's very, very important as one of your tools to come out of whatever issue has, held you captive, is to start thinking in terms, whenever the situation arises, of the divine pattern for yourself there. And, why do I say that? And why do I say that that is so important? Because when you stop in the midst of the whatevers that are going on, and they go on all the time, if you stop within and ask, what is my divine pattern of wholeness and completeness there, it will stimulate the vision that is actually locked within the light of the soul. And it gives a higher picture of yourself for you to rise to. It becomes a spiritual goal that in the place of that old whatever that I was doing, now I am aspiring to do this, to be this, to express this. So it's not enough to try and stop a habit, those chronic things. It's just habitual reactions. It's not enough to try and just stop it. More than that, one needs something to replace the old pattern with. For example, in the place of being anger, what is the spiritual opposite of anger?
Love.
Love. And, the many names of love. So in the place of anger is love. So if I'm being, this is when I say I mean the generic I of all of us,
Right.
If I'm being my divine self in this situation, what would I be? Well, instead of anger, then I would be love. Instead of fear, I would be faith.
And yet, with the anger, it has been said that we need to release that.
Yes, you do, and I'll get to that, but I want to just finish the point that
sure,
that you need the new wineskin. If you do not aspire, just like aspiring to throw the basketball in the net, you've got to keep your focus there, where it's going. Well, where are you going? So you need that new prototype, the new wineskin, something to replace the old with. And on this basis now, the new possibility for yourself, you can make greater choices. But to get back to you to say, feelings need, they need conversion. And first of all, we have to understand that feelings or emotions, however you want to describe them, and we're speaking of the negative states now, which would be anything less than perfect love, would be some stage of negativity. They need, the soul, once you recognize the value for you, the destruction and that these disturbing feelings are having for you, and they never bring you what you want, and then you need to recognize them. This is a better word. Oh, here I am feeling anger here. It's okay to recognize. And you should recognize, so you don't want to suppress because it'll be showing up somewhere, right?
Right.
But you want to know that feelings do not just happen of themselves. Okay, they're just not a power unto themselves that suddenly happen. The root cause of any emotion that you will be feeling is dependent upon the thought you are thinking internally, whether you're aware of it or not.
True.
So some of the traps that we fall into when we get into negative feelings, for example, anger oftentimes is a result, and this is a key to remember, of dependency on a person, place, or thing to be whatever, quote unquote, for you. So then, since we are putting the power outside ourselves instead of within our own God, complete, whole self, when we're putting that power out there, we are then subjecting ourselves to whatever that person, place, or thing is doing. So anger can arise from, you want to ask yourself, where is this anger arising from? Am I disappointed in so-and-so or such and such a thing? And at that point, you can decide. You are not your feelings. You are the power behind the feelings that chooses what to feel. And this is, at any given point. When you're established in your God self, which is wholeness, completeness, and so on, and you feel entirely one with the universe, you are not dependent on that person, place, or thing for your good, and therefore there is no reason for anger. If something doesn't work out, we know it will work out in another perfect way, for example. Our whole life is not cast within that circumstance. So by release is one of the spiritual tools. There are a lot of spiritual tools, but also what I want to highlight is that, for instance, deep depression. Someone asked me about, so many people suffer from deep depression. And that is arising from that original state of feeling separate from the one that is love. If you think of any problem in your life, in anyone's life, when we start to feel off kilter, it's because we're feeling some degree of separation from divine love, the operator of this entire universe, which we call God, and with which we are always one. So
right.
Another
that never leaves us. That never leaves us. We leave it.
Well, yeah. Well, we pretend.
Yes.
Because the fabric of the one is exactly that. And for a moment, you can feel at any time. I know I have, and I'm sure everyone has. That feeling separate from the one great whole in which we're all connected. But the real truth is, if you were really separate, you would not even be breathing a breath.
Right.
So everything is interdependent in this universe, and because of this, people can communicate with one another and so on. Otherwise, we'd be the total Tower of Babel. So we can never say that God breathed life into me, and I am a, living soul. And so all of us are intertwined. And then when we get into relating to persons, places, and circumstances, not from the deep center of the power within us, which is divine love, God, the power and presence in us and all surrounding, we're going to be playing more or less the victim to the degree of separation. Because if you feel so one, when you're in that state, that high state, emotional state of feeling totally one, isn't that the state, whenever you felt that miracles appear, everything seems harmonious?
Right. Euphoria. And you can change that in a snap. You can be feeling, oh, woe with me, and then change your thoughts and how you feel.
Right.
And in a second, you can be up there.
It can be instant, and people should know that. So you are not bound to any circumstance, any kind of syndrome, emotional syndrome of depression and so on. You are not bound to that. And living, the great gift of living in this life is that we have a chance to, recognize our divinity, to wake up and to experience a very powerful and practical power in our life. Because one thing about the manifest plane is when you make a change, instantly the mirror of experience shows you have done it.
Right. And now hold that thought, Linda, because we need to take our first break. And so everyone, don't go away. We'll be back more with Dr. Reverend Linda D. Coff. Welcome back, everyone, to the Love by Intuition show, and I want everyone to know, for those that may be listening for the first time, that the show that we're doing exactly today with Dr. Reverend Linda de Coff is also heard this coming Tuesday and Friday on Dreamvisions7radio.com, and that's 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It is heard twice per day, so keep that in mind. And I also wanted to just mention this beautiful book, Songs of Eternity, that everyone will be calling in for, and you can still call in now. Now, this beautiful Songs of Eternity are contemplations, treatments, and meditations on the Word of God. As Linda has shared, rich in mysticism and soaring in the exquisite rhythms, metaphors, and poetic majesty of the soul, Songs of Eternity is a master book of highest principle and law, written for the benefit of the evolving soul, ever advancing into eternal light of perfection. Songs of Eternity gives birth to stunning illuminations and brings about a grounding of the divine self in every way. And it's you can open it up to any page and read the meditation or the principle. It's a book, again, that should be in every home. So now back to Dr. Reverend Linda. Go right ahead and talk about, pick up from where you were, and I know you wanted to get into the tools.
Yes. What I'd like to, as much as I have time to, is to actually talk about some of the spiritual tools or antidotes that we have. And remember that spiritual mind is higher than the intellect. Spiritual mind involves itself with the way, the nature of the universe, how things work, the fundamental principles and laws, and recognizes all laws and principles in this universe are a manifestation of divine love. So realizing that divine love is the very source of all existence and has given birth to all that is, we must know also that divine love is always the most perfect manifesting, sustaining factor. And for that very reason, to experience our highest level of spiritual being, we want to do all we can do to become that divine love regardless of whatever, so that we become free of the bondage to circumstances, persons, places, and things, and can be that totality of love we were always meant to be. So, mysticism is such that we must walk the talk. That means, there are spiritual tools to use, one of which is immediately when something occurs in your life that would normally upset you or set you off course, immediately step into agreeing within yourself, blessing it and naming it good, agreeing that it is good. I say this briefly because there is no power in circumstances. All power is in you, and as you name it to be, you give the qualifications. Circumstances are neutral. So from the very start, in the worst of circumstances, begin by agreeing it's good. This puts you in a place of non-resistance and puts you in the seat of power. 2, blessing. Again, it's on the same line, blessing it over and over and over again every time it comes to your mind, and learning how to get the good out of the events, no matter how they are clothed. Learn how to get the good wherever you are. Powerful tool, gratitude. It is impossible to be in 2 states of mind at once, and this is helping your spiritual mind so that your thought processes are always engaged in life-giving and in an empowering state. So gratitude, when you are miserable, if you just stop for a minute and think about all the good that you've ever experienced in your life, absolutely everything from, your earliest memory that you can think of, and begin giving thanks to the infinite for all this good that has manifested in your life. You empower yourself. You cannot be grateful and be depressed or morose at the same time.
And the other piece, if I may add, with gratitude, because I've found from my personal journey, when you are in a place of gratitude for things as they are, it may be that you need a new refrigerator. It may be that you need more food in the refrigerator on top of that. But to be in honor and gratitude of what there is in the refrigerator presently, I think that is so
Well,
key.
It is. It's so powerful, and you become a magnet to greater good. So if you want greater good, for example, but, that's getting more into the manifesting laws, which we will handle in our 3rd section. But if you are grateful, for the little you have, there will be more. You are immediately magnetized, and then you can give thanks for the more that you are seeking.
Right.
I give thanks for what I have. Run the litany, bless everything, everything that's ever blessed you, because this is all evidence of the power and presence in your life, always becoming what you need, always sustaining you. So when gratitude is blessing, we have gratitude. And then once you've given gratitude to your empty refrigerator, at least I had a refrigerator that worked, thank you, God. But now thank you for my new one that works even more perfectly, and you'll get it. You will manifest it in perfect right ways. So grumbling doesn't get us anywhere. It just digs the hole deeper. But gratitude is a key, opens the door to grace, divine grace, and God. And all of these spiritual tools that I'm giving set you on the path of dharma or grace. Karma is that negative cause and effect syndrome. We do it over and over and over again. We're just stuck in that bondage, wheel of bondage. You step off that wheel the instant you start practicing gratitude, blessing, agreeing it's good. It's such a powerful tool because you are then changing the entire trajectory of your experience. Another tool is detachment. And I don't mean coldness. I mean the willingness to observe yourself. You know, like a swimmer in a pool, you know, you're swimming, you're learning swimming, and there's a mirror, and you're watching your stroke, and you think, gee, that doesn't look too good, let me try it this way. You know, that's what witnessing and observation is. And the human being has, I say it's an exalted capacity to observe themselves in situations and then to change what one is doing if we feel another route is better. So do not think, when I say detachment, know that you are not your experiences. You've had them, but you are not that. You are not your feelings. You have felt things, but you are not those feelings. You are something far greater behind that has the power to switch and change. And so you want to know that, spend more time in self-observation if you really want the goal, in looking at how you are in situations and then determining to change whatever is not coming up to the divine standard in you, that spiritual opposite. So when do you practice peace? When everything's peaceful? No big deal. You know, when do you practice peace? You choose to be peace in the midst of the difficulty. You choose to be faith in the midst of the fear. You choose to be courage and to take action when you feel like crawling under the blankets, you know, because you know that these are this is the state of the divine you, which always
and that's how you switch it, is in the midst of it, is making that conscious choice.
Yeah, I can remember one time there was construction going on over my head. My ceiling was, you know, like rumbling. I said, well, God, how can I be peace in this? You know, they better stop that construction. And I said, oh, no, you got to bless the construction going on, you know, and you choose to be peace in the midst. So I did choose to remain in a state of peace and to harmonize with the situation. And so many good things came out of that. You know, the construction crew, I had some paintings that needed hanging. They asked if there was any way they could, you know, help me out. So it just all turned into totally for my good because I had changed my attitude.
Yes. And so with that said, we need to take our next break. Everyone, when we come back, we're going to close out, not right away, but close out the show with a beautiful meditation that will be healing. So don't go away. We'll be back in a moment with our co-host, Dr. Reverend Linda Coff. And one more quick thing, I want to give out her site in order to connect with her. It's Rev Dr. Linda Coff. I'm going to spell it. Rev, R-E-V. Doctor is just the D-R. Linda, and Coff is D-E-C-O-F-F. I'll spell it all in one again. REVDRLINDADECOFF.com. Back in a moment. And we are back. Now, again, if anyone would like to call in and ask Linda a question or share something, please do. And at the same time, we're giving away, or Dr. Linda Coff is giving away, a beautiful book, Songs of Eternity, Contemplations, Treatments, and Meditations on the Word of God. And all you have to do is call in to Sean and give your name and number, and then, of course, you can talk with us on live radio if you choose to. And I also want to give out Dr. Linda's website again. It's Rev, D-R, Linda, Coff, which is D-E-C as in candy, O-F as in Frank, 2 F's, Coff. And back to you, co-host Dr. Reverend Linda. That has like a ring to it.
So I just I know we don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to kind of encapsulate the importance in, you know, if listeners, any listener is interested to evolve your emotional life, it can only benefit you in every possible way. The chief objective should be to align your emotions with divine love. So one of the things every day is at the end of your day, kind of run the day through your mind mentally like a movie, and seeing what in the moment that you went through was not love. And it doesn't matter when you do it, because when it's done in the timeless. But then, do whatever it takes to change that so that you are not going to sleep carrying the burden of heavy feelings, whether it's releasing, blessing the other person's situation to their good. Very, very important. Always free as soon as you can get over the whatever's, to free all circumstances, persons, places, and things to their greatest good. Why is this so important? Because you release the karmic bondage then. And so by freeing the other and finding good in the other and freeing them to their good too, you receive the same for yourself. And on the deep, deep planes of existence, you are eliminating the need to have negative encounters of any sort anymore. So you do it for yourself, not to control persons, places, and things, not to get them to do what you want them to do, but authentically to free your being so that you can go forward and experience more bliss and more good. And so every day, or as soon as you think of it, when you review circumstances, and you can use some of these tools, just try and appreciate something valuable about it, whether it was something valuable you gained for yourself or for the other person, and be sure that you're not letting this pile up in you, because that is how karma is created, repetitive cause and effect, and you want to be on the path of liberty and grace. And another thing that I would suggest for people, remember I said that thoughts produce feelings. They don't come from anywhere. So the more your thought life is aligned with thinking the thoughts of God, basically knowing what God knows about this universe and knowing that you are one with it, and every principle of wholeness that exists also brings you tremendous well-being, because you have centered in the truth of your being. So learn these principles of the universe, which are all principles of wholeness, success in every way. With God, no problem to manifest the entire universe existence. And so when you are knowing that you are one with this great force and power, then you also know that interprets right in your life that you are one with every single principle of wholeness. So study universal principle, learn it, so that when you say the word I, which is handled in my book, Songs of Eternity, and you say I am, you are following that with the truth of the very center of your being, not some passing experience that you've been through. Remember, you've had them, but you are not them. You are one with the totality of being. And also you are one with every principle and law. So when you need something, and you can step right into saying, I know the principle is that there is always perfect supply, that thought is leading to the eventual manifestation you're going to have. Or you could say, well, in my experience, no one has been there. And immediately you're crashing, and you are not hooked up to the main power line. So our own experience is not so important. What is important is what is true. Truth does not change. Principles do not change for this person or that person. They are. So when you can go beyond your own experience and learn to have the greater identification for yourself and know you are one with these great principles, you climb out, and one with all the love that is, being it and receiving it, then you can climb out of any negative state. But do your best to heal any notions of separation, because although you may feel it, it is not the truth and never will be.
Right. And when you get there, when you get to that place you're speaking of, you don't want to harm anyone or anything, whether it's a bug or whether it's a small animal or whether it's a human. You're in a place of acceptance of all that is, which is beautiful. And so now, with that said, it's really time for you to share your healing meditation. So go right into that, Dr. Linda.
Pleasure. And I just want to say to listeners right now, we'll close with a meditation. And the purpose of this meditation is to kind of walk you through a method of healing those most awful chronic patterns. Okay? So whoever is listening, just try to get very still and put out of your mind anything that has been going on, any thought-taking, just breathing in the wholeness of divine life and light, centering within, knowing you have all the power. All love is with you, and you have the power to change. Now, pick something that you really want to transcend, some pattern you really want to get over and transcend. Once you have that, ask within, how do you see yourself being? If you were being the divine you. As answers flow up, I ask this question, what is the typical trigger where you go into, always slip into that old pattern? Once you have that, see that trigger, realize that chronic or compulsive patterns are very powerful. And to overcome them, they need to be expressed in some way. But there is a way to express without affecting or damaging your life. In fact, there is a way to edit out the need for this pattern entirely. What I ask everyone to do, since we know that it has great power, is to run it through, see yourself at the point of the trigger, and then see yourself like an actor in a play, all the stages you go through, all the reactions, and bring yourself finally to a state of peace, because remember, a pattern is like a record. It always has an end and ultimately goes to a state of peace. Realize that you can edit out this pattern whenever it comes again. You will just, instead of acting on it, you will just be still and play it out mentally, exaggerate it to the furthest extent, till you come to the place of peace, and then just go, get up, come out of meditation and go about your business. And then see yourself in the new pattern, at the state of peace, from the get-go, from the provocation to peace, immediately. And so let it be for each and every one listening. Thank you, God.
And thank you, Dr. Reverend Linda, co-host coming up in October. Go on our site to keep abreast of all and join our newsletter.